Hi, my name is Tammy Youngston, and I'm the co-coach of a program called Never Ending Referrals, along with Steve Schleter. We'd like to congratulate you on graduating from Bold 2.0. In a moment, you'll be watching a video interview between Steve and Tony Baroni, where Tony shares how he acquires those 5-star reviews, all while delivering on the promise. If you'd like to experience other interviews such as this, we invite you to join the Never Ending Referrals Community. Never Ending Referrals is an on-demand e-learning platform where there are over 100 video lessons that you can watch at your leisure. You can watch it all in one weekend, or you can watch it over the course of 3, 4, 5 months. In addition to that on-demand learning platform, we bring heavy-hitting interviews like you're about to experience 3 Fridays of the month, where we seek out the best of the best people in our business that are just doing amazing things, and we share that with the Never Ending Referrals community. So sign up today. We'd love to have you join our community. All you got to do is go to mastermydatabase.com, $39 a month for a 5-month commitment, and you master your biggest business asset. We'll see you soon. Meanwhile, enjoy the interview and the amazing lessons that come from Tony and Steve.
Hey, welcome, Never Ending Referrals. Steve Schleter here. Gosh, man, here we are. It is December 13th, and man, are you in a treat for today. We've got Tony Baroni coming to us live from Florida, and of course, you got to experience Tony in the Bold Room. Hey, Tony, say hello to the gang.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Glad to be here.
All right. And before we get started with Tony, a couple of things, a little few housekeeping items I just want to cover, because Tony's going to add some massive value to us today. And when we get into this, he's going to be providing us with some marketing pieces, some emails, actually even a video. And I'm going to show you some examples on the screen. And yet I'm going to also be hosting them. Do I host things? Hosting them. I'm going to be hosting them on your Kajabi e-learning portal, where you'll have access to all these resources. Now, remember, you on the bottom of your screen, if you pull your cursor down, the toolbar pops up, and you can use the Q&A tab. We want you to ask questions. We're going to make room at the end for your questions. So what I would say is, if you post a question, be really specific in terms of its nature, because you might say, would you repeat that? And we have no clue when you posted that and what it's about. So be very specific in the nature of your question. And then just as a housekeeping item, let me pull up a screen share for a minute and share with you that, let me pull this up. Here we go, folks. That, one moment, please. So right here, you'll see the portal where we have the recorded webinars hosted. So after this is done, by Monday, we will have the recording of this interview with Tony posted right here under the recorded webinars. Now, you notice this says last 4 recorded webinars. Now we've now had 4. And so the November 7th one will drop down to the bottom of the page. We'll have a section for, if you go all the way through the portal, there'll be a second section for archived webinars, and that's where you'll find all the previous ones. You'll have access to all of them. They'll always be here, and yet you're going to find Tony's here. And when you click on it, here's the important part, is you're also going to find, just like in this example right here, that over here under downloads, the things we're going to be sharing with you today are going to be available for download. There'll be some images, a document, and so forth will be available for you here in the download section. So just make sure you take advantage of these tools and resources that Tony's going to share with us today. So that being said, Tony, I think we're ready to get this party started. You ready?
Let's get it going.
We'll get it going. Well, Tony, first and foremost, I mean, you've made a massive contribution to Bold, and in session 7, many of these folks that are on with us today, and they're going to be listening to the recording later, got to experience in step 7 of Bold, the promise and the focus on 5-star reviews or reviews and referrals. And first, I want to thank you for that contribution, because it's such a vital part of where the industry is going today, and just the consumers going today. So thank you for that contribution. And let's get started by just finding out a little bit about Tony Baroni and your journey to this point in your career. So tell us a little bit about your team and your real estate career journey. When did you get started? Tell us a little bit about the journey.
Yeah. Okay, Steve. And Steve was my first Bold coach, so I've got to give you credit for that, Steve. That we met a long time ago through Keller Williams. So yeah, I started in 2005, and statistically, it was probably the worst time in my market when the market actually had its first dip. Was the month I started. So had about a year and a half of a good market. Was on a team, and then I was I had a team, and then I joined a team as a listing agent, and I did that for about 4 years, and then I ended up starting my own team in 2011, beginning of 2011. And currently our team is about half admin or support, and then half sales, and we have about 15 people. So that's what we consist of right now.
Okay, so you're the one that caused the dip in the market in Florida when you got in the market. That's what you're saying.
No, it was all the other agents, and I was just, I just hung out for a while, long enough where I started getting more business, basically.
Yeah. So how'd you make the journey into real estate? What were you doing prior? What brought you into the real estate arena?
Yeah, so Steve, I was a logistics consultant prior to real estate in the automotive industry. So, people would hire myself in order to, save them millions of dollars in logistics costs. So it was a pretty interesting dynamic field. And, if you think real estate's stressful, go be a logistics consultant for a week, and you'll be very appreciative of what you do in real estate.
So what was the end goal of getting into real estate? Why did that appeal to you? Obviously, I guess, for less stress, maybe. What brought you to this?
Stress was a really important factor. I was getting woken up in the middle of the night on a regular basis, booking planes for freight, and it was pretty intense. So I bought my first house with my wife, and I said, hey, I think I could do this as a living. And I really enjoyed the process, and just said, hey, what would that look like? And we decided I got my mortgage license first, did that for about a year prior, just dabbling, learning the financial side of it. And then I got my real estate license and dove straight in.
So I think here's the interesting thing. I mean, you guys are selling a couple of hundred homes a year, or have been for the last 4 years. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And I know that you said this year we're going for a 3 in front of that rascal, right?
That's right. We're going to hit a 3.
Happen because of all the great referrals you guys out there in Never Ending Referrals land are going to send for Tampa and Orlando, correct?
Yes. Yeah. And we cover Tampa Bay and Orlando. We have an expansion office and everything in between. And I want everyone to just, when they think of Florida, think of Tony Baroni and our team, and we'll be glad to put you in with the best agent in that area, whether we service or someone else.
Perfect. So people see people where they are, Tony, so often they don't see the journey they've been on. And how did it start out for you? Tell us about the early years of real estate.
Yeah. So earliest years, I was an expired guy. Basically I said, who needs to list their house? Personally, I decided early on that I wanted to be really a listing focused agent. So I called expired listings. That's what I did. And I would call a minimum of 100 people a day. I didn't have a dialer. Back then, they didn't have dialers, guys. And I would call. I actually used a company called RedX at the time, and I would pull my list and call people. And I would just keep calling and leaving messages and getting appointments. And the challenge we had is that no one had equity, essentially. I mean, only 20-30% of homeowners in my area had equity. So it took a lot of appointments to be able to find those 20-30% that could sell. And then we started learning, okay, well, the people that can't sell but have to move out of state, what's that look like? And then we decided to start specializing in short sales, because everyone in my office was saying, I'm not doing short sales. I hate short sales, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, I better do short sales. Yeah. So I became an expert at that. And then I think it evolved into listing, really just being the strongest listing agent I could be in our team, being listing based. And then it's evolved from there really to the promise, which we're going to get into today.
You got it. Yeah. And of course, everybody experienced that, that's been through Bold. And then we'll touch on it a little deeper. There may be some people that come on to this that are in part of our group that haven't taken Bold 2.0 yet. And so we'll go through the promise again at the very end here, recap that and kind of what that looks like and,
Sure.
and why it's structured the way it is. So we've watched you in Bold present the promise, and we watched that video in the Bold room. And tell us a little bit about, you mentioned that you heard Mike Hicks talk about the promise, and you said, man, we've got there's an application here for us, and take us right through the impact of implementing that. What was it? Just kind of like, was it instant, simple thing that you brought into your business? What did it take to implement that? What was the impact of implementing it? Walk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think we've all had these moments in life where it's just, we call it aha and Keller Williams, right? But it was like lightning hit me. Mike Hicks is on stage. He's talking about the promise of what he did. And it was really to how to get referrals. And I thought to myself, wow, like I've done the same thing, but it's really been with online reviews. And I was pretty darn good early in my career getting referrals, because my mindset at the time was, okay, do I call 100 expireds tomorrow, or do I get a referral at closing from this client? And obviously, once I started getting referrals, I figured out pretty fast that, wow, this is pretty awesome to just get a referral, right? Mm-hmm. So as I started doing, building my team bigger and having less production myself, I realized I was probably doing a lousy job training my team how to get referrals. So I said, well, what would it look like if we do the Mike Hicks process of the promise? And we were already doing it with online reviews for the most part. Mm-hmm. That was our expectation. You do a review for us at the end so we know how we did. Give us feedback. And then now we just added the referral to that process. And that was January 2018, Steve, was when we started that. And now, we have quite a bit of time under our belt implementing the promise.
Well, so implementing it at the team level and scaling it to the, I can remember early in my real estate career, because I go way back in real estate, and that is when they first introduced agency disclosure forms, and people freaked out because they were going to disclose, what the relationship was. What was it like when you had sales team members go out on a limb and make a promise that you were going to, because what is the promise? What are we promising them?
So the promise is that we're going to give them the best real estate experience they could ever imagine receiving, Steve. That's what our promise is to our clients.
So was there some angst about making that kind of promise? And tell us how y'all had to think differently to get there and to really make this integral in the business.
I think anyone that knows me and worked with me even prior to us announcing we're going to implement the promise knew that was always my goal, and for our team to deliver on that, because we had been doing online reviews since maybe 08, 09. We were one of the first people, especially in Tampa Bay area, doing that. And so I was just, I'd call it obsessed with getting a review at the end, and more from anything of just knowing we're doing a great job, because that was really important to me. It still is today. How do we measure up at the end of the day? Like, were you thrilled with our service? And that's how it, so when we implemented, I think most of our team it wasn't that off from what we were doing. Mm-hmm. Although a couple of the newer team members may be like, I don't know if I feel comfortable saying that to people up front. And, those people are no longer on our team, honestly. But it also attracts the culture of people that want to deliver at that level. And that's been probably my biggest aha about the implementation of it, more than the clients giving us referrals and reviews, have been that we attract people in our organization that believe that. And that's how they operate too, right? So that's been really cool.
So what's the communication like with the client? So as it gets down to an admin team and we're in escrow, or a listing is in process as an active listing, how is the team communicating with the client around the promise? Is this just something we say one time and we don't have a conversation around it again, or is there other conversations happening around this idea of the promise? And if so, what's that like?
Well, Steve, when we first started, there was definitely some bumps in the road. I would go out on the listing appointment and I'd say, did our inside salesperson actually talk to you about the promise. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I
Mm.
was like, whoa. So then I go back to our ISA and say, hey, you didn't mention the promise to this. So now we've just created a lot of, really a system of the ISA is going to say something to the effect of, when the listing agent comes out, they're going to talk to you about the promise. And I'm actually going to send you a pre-listing packet that you'll receive, and it'll talk about the promise in there as well. So I just want to give you a heads up. That's what our team's all about. And to me, what that means is we're going to give you an amazing experience in real estate.
So that pre-listing packet, now you guys will see on the screen, this would be in the pre-listing packet right here?
Yeah, that's page 2. We put it up front. That's really the first thing we dive into is the promise and what that means for us. And it's delivering, that 5-star experience that they could never imagine receiving. And then in turn, we ask for 2 things. The first is we want some feedback on how we did. And the way we get feedback is via online reviews. So, at the end of all of this process, we want you to let us know how we did for you by filling out some online reviews. And the second thing is we would love to compel you sometime between today and closing to actually give us a referral to someone else that has real estate needs, because you're so thrilled with the service. And we'll literally ask for permission on both of those things and see what they say.
Well, what I love about this, Tony, too, is that when you mention that this is the way we get your feedback to see how we're doing, you're really making it about them. It's not about them fulfilling a commitment of a review. This is the way you make sure we're doing the right job for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it really is positioning it about them and not you. And I love that part of this. Now, if I'm in pending status or I've got an active listing, will any of the team members be checking in on how we're doing with the promise? Is that kind of part of the conversation? If so, what's that sound like?
Yeah, I mean, I think of Sherry on our team, like she's the listing closing coordinator. So I've heard her say it 100 times. She'll say, well, I'm sure you know about the promise. And they'll say, yeah, I've heard about the promise. So here's what the promise means to me. That's kind of the premise of our team. Here's what the promise means to me personally. Mm-hmm. And Sherry will say, that means to me that I'm going to be answering your questions before you even have the question. That's what it means to me. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be ahead of things and not behind them. And I'm going to make sure that I'm addressing things before you even thought of them. That's what the promise means to me. So that's what my goal is throughout this transaction for you from contract to close.
Wow.
So it depends on the person. It's got to be authentic and genuine, Steve. So we're not going to ask people to make it weird or not to feel authentic. So I think that's a really important part of the promise for our team is what does that mean for them? And, that on the listing side, the listing manager would be completely different than what Sherry
well, it's funny, Gary Keller and Dave Jinks used to have this thing, they coined this phrase, teamwork, rock, and roll, and it was where everybody on the team knows their big rocks and their role in delivering the experience, right? And so what I just heard you say was, so what was the young lady's name?
Sherry.
Sherry. So what I heard was Sherry, she set expectations and she demonstrated, here's how I'm going to, fulfill my part in fulfilling the promise that was made to you. And the extension of that. And so it sounds like another opportunity again, just to set expectations and to know what's going to be delivered. And it just keeps setting the stage for, and it's all about them again. It's about the client and the experience they're going to have and setting the stage for we're fulfilling the promise. That's outstanding.
It is.
And
so I think it's important part of the promise. Go ahead.
I was just saying every team member has their version of what fulfilling the promise means.
It does. And I think, up front, it's really important to talk about what the promise is not. And, we showed in our listing packet, but we're going to go over that with them initially. We're going to say, we want to give you the best experience. We hope to compel you to give us a referral. We hope at the end we'll get feedback via online reviews. And then we're going to say, hey, Steve, I also want to go over what the promise is not. Is that okay with you? And everything's asking permission. You know, would that be okay if we go over this? Yes. So the promise is not that everything's going to be exactly perfect. In fact, there's human beings that are involved throughout the process. There are things that happen and things go sideways, and some things we can control, some things we can't control. Most of the things that we can't control are some of the issues that we actually have. But when we do have those, we're going to overcome them together, and we're going to face those challenges together. And we've probably been through it already, and we'll be able to guide you on how to handle that. So I just want to be crystal clear that there will be challenges that happen from today to closing. Yeah. But we're going to get you through them, Steve. Okay. So I want to make sure you understand that.
Well, and if I'm on the receiving side of that, Tony, I think everybody that's a reasonable human being believes and knows that this is a complex transaction, and that there are a lot of moving parts, especially if they've done it before. And
sure,
to have that, I think that just setting that tone, and the way you just said it, it's just a matter of fact conversation, that it's two people having a human conversation about how things happen, and we're in this as a team to get you to the finish line.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
So
I love the word reasonable. I think that, to me, that's how I look at things. So when I get feedback, is it a reasonable thing? Is it something we could have controlled or not? You know, was it a title issue? If it's a title issue, that doesn't have a lot to do with us, right? So that's how I measure the promise on delivering. And we'll ask this question after closing. On a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, Steve, what would you rate of how we delivered the promise to you?
Wow.
And then they may say 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever. And then I say, well, if it's an 8, what would have made it a 10? And they'll say, well, whatever. And now, if it's something we can control or is on us, we have 2,000% ownership in that, right? Like, wow, I'm so sorry I failed you with that. But yet, we're all getting better. You know, feedback is for champions, and that's why we get online reviews. We want to know how we're doing.
So let me ask you this. I often, and I would love to get, you're the expert on this for what you do with the way you guys generate reviews and the process that you have. My experience has been that even when things go sideways, how you recover matters, and that there's still a 5-star review possibility, even when things get pretty hairy. Tell us about your experience with that, and how do we take the transactions that get off the rails? What's important about how you recover in the transaction to mitigate what stars will show up on that review?
Well, I mean, character is measured by adversity, not by everything being perfect, right? So I'm a big advocate for that with my team. And, it's our time to shine. When we have, let's think about all the disruption in our industry right now, Steve, with iBuyers, with everyone really trying to eliminate realtors, if we're being honest. And where we shine is the adversity and overcoming challenges as human beings and how we handle that. So, I think it's absolutely how you handle the challenges along the way are probably going to be your best reviews, quite honestly, rather than everything being perfect. Because when they're perfect, they expect it to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like if you're a first-time home buyer and everything went perfect, you'd expect everything always to be perfect. So they're hiring us to overcome the challenges, really what they're doing, in my opinion.
I think that's so really, actually, there's opportunity in the adversity, as we always hear, right?
There really is. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's all how you handle it. It's all Perfect. How you handle it.
So let's move forward and walk us through securing those reviews. I mean, what works? So we say this and we set the stage for, we're going to deliver the promise, and we deliver the promise. You're going to be compelled to give us a referral, and you're going to give us your feedback through these various review sites. First off, which review sites are paramount to say these are the ones we absolutely want to solicit reviews for? Which are the key ones?
Yeah. So, everyone in here should have a Google My Business account, where it's essentially, if you pull up Google Maps, you type in Tony Baroni team, it's going to show where our office is located. And that through there, you can do a review within that website. So Google My Business would be number one in my mind. Number two would be Facebook. Number three would be Zillow. Number four would be Realtor.com. And then number five would be Angie's List. That would be the top five I'd focus on.
Okay.
Now, if they're a Yelper and they use Yelp, like out on the West Coast, I don't know about Texas, Steve, but on the West Coast, Yelp is extremely popular app for not just restaurants, but for real estate as well. The East Coast, it's not as popular. Usually when someone contacts us through Yelp, it's actually someone on the West Coast trying to do something here. It's kind of interesting. So if they're a Yelper, I would recommend doing Yelp as well. But if they're not, I would not have them do a review on Yelp because it'll actually hurt your ratings.
Yeah, you actually brought up an interesting thing there, and that is if they have a lot of migration from the West Coast into their market, even if they're not a Yelp market per se, yet they have a lot of migration from the West Coast, they might be able to stand out a little bit if other people are using Yelp.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So tell us about driving those referrals. You've talked about contests and different strategies. Not referrals, rather. I'm sorry, driving the reviews and to capture it. I think we put it out there and we've asked for it, and yet actually getting them to show up is a whole nother matter. Because I think you've mentioned people said, well, I struggle to get them. Where's the mindset have to be first? How do we have to think to make sure we're getting those reviews?
I look at it as, if you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Like, it literally is that philosophy in my mind. So we're going to deliver this service. And in turn, our expectation is to really, at a minimum, get a review. And then between now and closing, you're going to meet someone that actually has real estate needs. And we want to be introduced to them when that happens. So that's my mindset around it. And then I've found when you ask for both, they're probably at a minimum going to do the online reviews. Now, if the client's 85 years old and doesn't use the computer, they're not going to do a review, most likely, right? But would they do a video testimonial at closing? They may do that. Mm-hmm. They may tell all of their friends and give you 10 referrals. So, the hope is that you're measuring it and that you're tracking it and hoping that people are going to do one of the two, if not both. Okay.
So you set the stage for as many opportunities as possible. So walk us through the whole idea of contest. You said this has been a good aggregating opportunity for securing those reviews, that you'll run contests. In fact, I think you mentioned you're going to run them quarterly, this next year. Talk to us about the contest.
Yeah. So again, R&D department is really important to us. So, Mike Hicks in Idaho Falls came up with the promise. You mentioned that earlier. So you have referrals for him. Definitely show Mike appreciation out there, Mike Hicks. And then a guy named Nick Waldner in Maryland, I kind of used this idea of a contest on how people to do online reviews for you and give you referrals. I think it was just reviews is how he did it, but we added the referrals to the contest. And essentially, we want the client to, we give away, like right now, we're doing a giveaway of a $300 Amazon gift card through December 23rd. And we're calling it a holiday shopping spree. Here it is that you have pulled up. And we're really asking for reviews, and we're also asking for referrals. And if you do a review, you get one entry. If you give us a referral with name, number, and permission to call, you get 15. And so what we're finding is when we do contests like this, it just gives that little nudge more for those people that are like, oh, I just haven't got around to it yet, Tony. They do it during this time. Now, again, some people are never going to do a review, and that's okay. So our metrics are, Steve, 70% of the time we want one review. 50% of the time we want one name, number, and permission to call with someone that has real estate needs. And that may be someone that needs to refinance, build an addition on their house, buy or sell and invest in real estate. So that's how we measure those ourselves. But this is fun. For those that have teams out there, the way we did this time was I did the listing team versus the buyers team. And we are doing a $300 party or lunch or happy hour, and I'm sure our team's going to pick happy hour most likely, for the winner of who gets more reviews. And it's been a lot of fun. And man, there's been a lot of creativity that's happened this contest from our team. So it's really cool to watch.
And how are they getting this out?
So mainly email and text.
Okay.
I created a video too that I'm going to share with you, Steve, that it's pretty silly, really. I mean, it's me with a fake beard, like glasses, and I'm just saying, you know, instead of ho, ho, ho this holiday season, it's do, do, do. As in money, we're giving away a $300 Amazon gift card. So it's just kind of funny. So we've been sending that out as well to people, and I'm expecting we'll get over 100 reviews from this contest, just from this contest alone.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, so it just, and this will appeal to some people, I guess, that, you know, you've made the promise to, you've done a transaction with, they never got around to doing the review. The reviews should, you know, begin to show up there, because there's kind of a sense of, you never make it this way, and yet there's a sense of owing you a review, probably. Yes.
Okay, I'll tell an example of this, is how powerful it is. I kid you not, I was at a bar with a friend, and we're having dinner, and I had someone tap me on the shoulder. I look up, and she goes, "Tony, I'm so sorry I haven't done a review yet for you, and I promise I'll do it this week." And mind you, that was before we even had the promise. That was just an expectation of how much. And she did it the next week, and she was so apologetic. And I was like, it's no problem. We understand you're busy. And here's the thing, guys, with online reviews, all the magic happens after closing. Okay, so after closing, you need to do a follow-up call, and then here's how that script goes, Steve. Hey, Steve, can you believe it's actually been 30 days since we closed on your house?
Wow, we've been in a whirlwind since then. Yeah. Wow, 30 days. Yeah.
You know, Steve, I don't want to sound weird or anything, but I miss you, man. Like we were talking like every day during the transaction, and now it just seems weird we haven't connected in 30 days. So let me ask you, how's the house coming along?
House is great. We just, you know, I have the garage storage people here today. They're putting in, we got this garage storage system. They're putting in all these great cabinets. It's awesome.
Awesome. Hey, is there anything else I can do for you as far as vendors? Is there anything you need right now? Like, are you going to be mowing your own lawn? Do you need any type of services at all?
You know, I'm probably not going to mow my own lawn. So if you could send somebody my way on that, that would be great.
Yeah, so I've got this guy named Gus. He does my personal house, and he's in your area as well. So I'm going to have Gus give you a call. And what would be best? You want me to connect him with you via text?
That would be perfect.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do an intro. And, you know, for now on, Steve, anything you need, I want you to come to me and ask me instead of going online. Okay, so let me know what you need, and we'll give you the best services.
You appreciate that, Tony. Yeah, I trust you to give us some good stuff.
Yeah, so we have that whole network set up. So great, just let me know how I can help you with that. So if you remember at closing, I had sent you the online review link, Steve, and
yeah,
I was just following up. Did you get that email by chance?
Oh, I'm sure I did, Tony. We've been such a whirlwind. I'm just flat forgot, man.
I understand, completely understand. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to re-forward it right now, and you're still committed to doing those reviews for us, right?
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. Yeah, in fact, I'll make it happen tonight.
Okay, I'm going to forward it to you right now. And I'm setting a follow-up call next week, Steve, just to make sure you got the email as well, and just check in on you again, see if you need anything else from me.
That sounds great. Thanks, Tony.
Okay, thank you. Hey, anything else you need from me right now?
I think we're good, man.
Okay, perfect. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for your business, Steve. There's thousands of realtors in the area, and for you to choose us is an honor, and we hope to have a relationship for a long time with you.
No, you bet, Tony. Us too.
Thanks so much.
See you, man. Man, I felt like I was actually in the moment, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy, right? It doesn't have to be forced or weird, but the magic happens in that I'm going to call you next week to make sure you got my email. Mm-hmm. You probably felt like, oh crap, he's calling me next week. He's going to call me next week too.
Yeah.
And that's when they do it. that's when they're going to do it if they haven't done it up to that point.
So what about this one? Walk us through this contest.
Yeah, so we did a Yeti cooler giveaway. It was a Yeti Tundra. Our team gives away coolers as closing gifts as well. So we did four additional coolers. And this one we did where if you did all 5 websites with reviews, you'll get 10 tickets instead of 5. And then if you gave us a referral, you get 15. And we had a deadline of, if you see June 30th on that.
Yeah.
And we also did, on this particular one, we did, if you mentioned team members' names, we had an internal contest with a cash prize, depending on how many team members. I wanted my admin involved as well. So we did it that way that time.
Perfect.
This one we got 100, I think it was 130 reviews.
Yeah, I think your comment was people do crazy things for a Yeti, huh?
They do. They do.
What will you do for a Yeti? It's just one of those things. Well, here's what I would love to do, and that is, I want you to just share with us, since you started the promise and you've put this focus on reviews, what has the ultimate impact been on your business?
Well, the impact overall has been, I think, attracting awesome team members to join our organization. I just hired a person named Carrie, and she took Bold with me this last time actually, and she had we were Bold partners, so we got to get to know each other, and she just was so attracted by the promise and us delivering that to our clients. So that kind of started the initial conversations with her joining our team. And then for clients, it's really, I think, building something beyond real estate, right? It's like, it's building such a strong relationship that you are their resource for everything after that. Like, whatever you need, I got you. Like, just, I know a guy, I know a gal that's going to be able to take care of you for all your needs. And I've really planted that seed from 2007 on. I've really became like, if you need something, call me. And what that does is it's really allows people to really want to contact you multiple times a year for different things. And that could look like email, text, phone. And then on top of that, we're inviting them to our client party quarterly, right? We're doing these awesome giveaways, and we're just loving on our clients is essentially what we're doing. And to have that bold statement, because I think it's super bold to say, I'm going to give you the best real estate experience you can ever imagine receiving. It's just a powerful statement, right? Like, people don't forget that. And, our referrals aren't quite where I want them to be at that 50%, but yet we're headed in the right direction. I think we're up 15% since we implemented the promise. And then online reviews, we're hovering right around 70%. So I know it's possible to do that metric. The question I have is the referral. How much? Is 50% too much or not? And I don't know, but we'll find out.
And we keep moving that needle. Well, let me ask you this: as far as when you say the best experience ever, when you make that statement, is there anything that's very intentional that y'all do to make sure that there's some wows in that process so that they go, wow, this is different? And what would some of those wow moments be that you're creating to help kind of set that tone?
So one thing we do is, and we implemented that this year, maybe mid-year, our listing manager sends out a handwritten card with a $10 gift card. Our closing coordinator on the list side does the same thing. And then our buyer's closing coordinator does the same thing. So, let's say Steve, I know you're super worried about the inspection and you're a seller of mine, So that may look like, once we clear inspections, we do a handwritten note that says, hey, Steve, I just wanted to let you know we cleared inspection, as you know, and I know you were nervous about that process, and I figured now's a good time for you to have an extra coffee on us. You probably are feeling like you need some caffeine by now. Stuff like that. And P.S., I hope you think we're delivering the promise. Yeah. And we're sending out gift cards with handwritten notes like that throughout the process. And that's just an awesome touch. We are calling people, for example, we can't get a hold of the lender that week for an update on the list side. Sherry's calling and saying, hey, I didn't want you to think I forgot about you, Steve, but I haven't had a chance to get a hold of the lender yet. We've contacted them via email. We've texted them. We've called twice. As soon as I hear, you're going to be the first to know. And I think everything's on track, although I want to make sure you're aware that we're on top of it right now. You know, and so much of real estate is that we're guilty of not communicating enough with our clients, right? So it's just constant communication.
Well, just what I heard there is you're letting them know what you're doing on their behalf. And when those things are happening in the background and we tell them what we're doing, our value goes up. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I tell
a latte. There you go. So
yeah, thanks a latte.
Thanks
yeah,
a lot.
That's interesting you said that, because I'm a big preacher about that. Like, you know, if the clients knew how much we were talking about them in our office on Baroni Boulevard here, they would never question anything. Like, we're on it. Like, we're talking about clients every day between the closing coordinator and myself, or whoever the agent is. I mean, you know, we're guilty of not letting them know that is the problem. Like, so we just have to communicate that.
Now, there's something in mindset that I just heard, Tony. You probably don't even know you said it.
Uh-oh.
Guys, you write this one down. This is the biggie. Tony just gave you the big one. And so the big one is this. He said, we're talking about the clients. He said, he didn't say we're talking about the deal. That's a mindset shift.
I don't like the word deal.
Yeah. Not talking about the deal. We're not talking about the closing. We're talking about somebody's life and situation. And this, I think that's probably got to be a major shift. If the promise is not about a deal, it's about somebody's experience and what they're going through and how we make it great for them.
Steve, can I give you just another? I always think of like the last 24 hours. I think it's authentic and it's real. Like, I have a client, they signed with us. I'm listing their house. Her mom was going to assisted living in Florida. Imagine that in Florida, right? Well, yeah. That's the scenario. She's from Wisconsin here right now. So she signed with us, done deal. We're waiting on, you know, for her to decide where her mom's going to go, what facility. I've given her a referral for to remove stuff from the house, estate planning and estate sale person. So I've already given those referrals. And I called her last week and I did my weekly call, and she's kind of like, Tony, you don't need to call me. I'm just waiting on this stuff. I said, no, you don't understand. I know you're from Wisconsin and you don't know anyone here besides me. So I'm calling today just to see if there's anything you need from me. And she goes, man, you are so nice. Like, I can't believe you're calling me for this. And literally said that. And I said, she goes, I'm good, but I'm going to call you next month when I have everything ready. And I'm sorry I haven't called this person or this person yet. I'm dealing with my stuff. Yeah. By the way, my mom's now took a turn for the worst, and she's going to go to hospice now. And I'm like, wow, I'm sorry to hear that. So fast forward this week, I call her and I say, she took my call and I said, hey, I was just checking in on you, and I know your mom's not doing well, and I just want to check in on how she's doing. And she goes, I don't think she's going to make it this week, Tony. That's what we're doing in real estate, guys. Like, yeah. It's not a transaction, right? So then I follow up today. She emailed me right before this. She needed a estate attorney because her mom just passed.
Wow.
Okay. And like, we are meeting her where she is. We're giving all the people she needs to make this transaction as easy as possible. And she's from Wisconsin. She has no network here. It's just what we do, right? Yeah. It's just what we do. And that's the point I think like people miss about real estate. It's really important what our job is. And it's more than a house.
So Tony, let's wrap up with some questions, and then we'll do some parting thoughts. But let's go ahead and dig in some questions. You good?
Yeah.
Is there anything that we didn't talk about that we just got to get communicated to this group before we wrap up?
We covered a lot.
Yeah. Well, let's go into this. Here's first question from anonymous attendee. I don't know there you go. Does the client ever expect in the promise that you will bring them the price they want? So what's the expectation around pricing?
No, I mean, I think if they agree to work with us, that's part of it. They agree with our pricing. I haven't had anyone say, well, you didn't deliver the promise because you got the price too low, or you tricked us into taking a lower price than we wanted, or, I haven't had that happen.
So Ed asked the question. He said, how do you stay on track with getting the referrals from people that have committed to giving them to you? I know in the Bold Room we talk about, extending it 3 more months kind of conversation.
Sure.
Tell us about, that conversation. Is that something you're actively tracking if they didn't give you a referral or did give you a referral, and what happens there?
Yeah, we track it on a spreadsheet. So the way our team does it, our weekly team meeting, we go through everyone that closed that last week. And then we say, did we get, what was the source? We'll do this. Steve, congratulations on closing Oak Street. That's awesome. Good job. And then we go into what was the source? Did we get a referral from this client or not? Mm-hmm. And then did we get an online review or not? And we track all of that on a spreadsheet, and we keep our percentages for the year. And it also triggers at that point, it would trigger Steve to say, oh, they haven't done a review yet. I know they will, though. I'm going to follow up with them today.
Perfect.
I hope that answers his question. But yeah, and then we'll do, when they say they have a referral, I'm training them day one. We did an abbreviated version of what we all say, but basically when that opportunity presents itself, Steve, what I'd love for you to do is make sure you will get permission for me to contact them. That is so key. Because there's thousands of realtors, Steve, like thousands of realtors here. And I want to make sure they get service just like you do with us. So that's going to be really important. Can you do that for me?
Absolutely.
Would text be best, or what do you think would be best to connect us?
Text probably.
Awesome. Let's do that.
So here's another one. Tina, when you set up your Google My Business account, what are you using for the name of biz? First name, last name, realtor, first name, last name, real estate professional, something else? What's the best way to set up my Google business account?
I think it's real estate services or professional.
Okay.
One or the other.
There's categorization there. So, okay. So real estate professional, real estate services. Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't set that up initially, so I'd have to look at ours, how we have it set up, but whatever we're doing is working pretty well from that. And then a lot of people probably in your office already have them, so that'd be a way you can look at it as well.
And go look at Tony's, guys. Go check it out.
Sure.
Samantha says, what value is there in the referral of someone wanting to refinance or an addition on their home? What do you do with that referral?
So my mindset about that, guys, is just like the real estate estate attorney I was talking about earlier that I had a referral for today. Like, they're one of my top referral partners. So if you think back to what we've learned in Bold in the past is the referral allied resources. So if I'm able to provide mortgage people referrals, an addition for a GC, my expectation and mindset is that they're going to be giving me business as well. So it's always an opportunity to be able to set them up with the best, and in return, hopefully they're going to be referring business back. And in fact, if I'm being real straight with you, it's required with us. Like, if they're not giving business back to us, we're not going to be doing business with them, because there's too many awesome people out there that would love the business.
Well, and then you go by, and I think about somebody doing a remodel. Sometimes they get into it, they're going, I didn't have no idea it was going to cost that much, and I'm going to over improve my house here.
Sure. Maybe
we should sell. Anytime there starts to be a conversation around anything around the real estate lifestyle, you want to be in the middle of it. So absolutely.
Well, and my mindset is I want them to connect me with another person I don't know. And then they're put in our database, and we can communicate with them and invite them to parties and all the stuff we do. So I want an introduction to someone is more, I think, the referral mindset.
So Debbie Weber says, now Debbie, neither one of us are lawyers or, any of that. So we're not going to give you a straight answer probably. Is there a RESPA issue for doing this? Now, I don't know what this is, whether it's the contest or the giveaways or any of that. And I would say, talk to your compliance person in your market center. And any thoughts out there? Have y'all dug into any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the state, would be, get with a local attorney to find out if it's compliant. And when we talk about RESPA and real estate, I mean, it really varies from state to state pretty substantially. So I'll give you an example. Jenny Wolick in Tulsa, Oklahoma reached out to me recently. And in Oklahoma, they just passed where they can do giveaways and stuff. Prior to 2 weeks ago, they couldn't. So she was asking me some questions around that.
So so check locally, get it. So Luann just joined meeting. Can I download what I'm seeing on the screen? Yes, Luann on the portal. And I'll show that in a minute, again, before we wrap up, where to get the downloads, because Tony's also going to send us a video. He's going to send us a sample email that he sends with the links. And, I'll have all that posted by the end of the business on Monday for you to be able to access all those resources. Robin, will there be a copy of the Santa referral review contest in the files? Yeah.
I provided that. That actually is part of the email. We embedded the graphic in there.
Perfect. We'll be putting that on the download. Lynette, online or offline later, who handles Tony's graphic design, internal, external to the team? Just who does your stuff?
Yeah, my director of operations has been doing the graphics lately. At one point, we had an in-house graphic designer. So right now, that would be Kelly on our team. Perfect.
And of course, the promise script you guys have in your bold workbook that we walked you through in step 7. Should we go back to past clients for reviews or just start with the new ones?
Oh, all of them. I would start with the newest ones first and work your way backwards. Newest ones first, work your way backwards.
Okay. So let's you and I talk through that for a second. If I'm working my way backwards, you sold my house 3 years ago. What's that conversation look like, Tony?
Yeah. So, hey, Steve, hey, I just ran across your name in my phone and I just had to give you a call today and check in on you. How are things going?
It's going pretty well.
Awesome. So you guys still liking the house, I hope?
Oh yeah, we're loving it. So it's treating us good, Tony.
Awesome. So Steve, I was just checking in. Do you have any real estate plans in 2020 that I need to set time aside for right now?
Not really. You got us so happy here. We're not going out for a while, so we're good.
Yeah, I knew you had plenty of room, so I didn't think so, but I'm just calling some of my most important clients today and just checking in on them. And it was awesome to see your phone pop up on my screen, so I had to call you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks for checking in, man.
Yeah. Hey, I was gonna ask you, would it be too much trouble if I sent you a few links to do an online review about your experience 3 years ago? I'm working with an IT person right now, and they're telling me how important online reviews are for our business. And I wanted to see if you'd be willing to do that for me.
I would love to do that for you, Tony. I mean, you did such a great job for us. I'd love to be able to do that for you.
Okay, great. Well, what I'm going to do, Steve, I'm looking here. Your email is steve@hotmailstill.com.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and send you that. And Steve, have you been getting our quarterly invites to our parties that we've been having for clients? I just want to make sure you're getting the correspondence.
Shelly it's probably going to Shelly, and maybe she is. I don't know, Tony. It's not ringing a bell for me.
Okay.
You want to put me on the list to make sure I'm getting it?
Well, no.
I've got a new email. You probably don't have my current email.
Oh, okay. Let me get that from you.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, and they may say, well, parties aren't my thing. Okay. Well, we're going to continue inviting you, and hopefully one of these we can end up seeing you. Because what we think is they don't want to come to my party and it hurts my feelings. But I had a client recently, they had shared it on Facebook, and I kid you not, she's gotten this stuff. She said in the Facebook post, 6 years. And she shared it and she goes, my realtor is better than yours. I've been invited for the last 6 years to these parties by my client or by my realtor. Isn't that crazy? And then all these comments, my realtor doesn't do that. My realtor does. So just be aware that it's the activity of the invite more than anything else.
Yeah. You get a lot of gratitude even if they don't come, right? So
you do.
Rob had asked, I may have missed this. He says, is your weekly call to them on the same day time every week? And I guess this is care calls from the staff person. Is that, do you have a consistent time schedule with clients?
The agent it is, and our coordinators it's not, because it just depends on the information, the timing of the information. We want to update them as soon as possible once we have it. Mm-hmm. So that may look like, hey, the appraisal came back, we're good. So that may be one. So we're not going to have that subject to Wednesday at 2:00. We're going to call immediately when we get that information.
Perfect. Now, Laura gets the last word here. It's the last question. And we're going to put a bow tie on this because Tony's got to go get some more reviews. And,
that's right.
And he's got to get ready to accept your referrals that you're bringing to Central Florida there, to Tampa, to St. Pete, to Orlando. Laura says, does each team member contribute to giveaway gifts? I'm on a small team and love these giveaway ideas.
It's something our team handles. Although, I think depending on, you could work it out any way you want. We cover like the $300 Amazon gift card, the Yeti cooler. Our team covers that ourselves.
Gotcha. Well, last thing here, and then I'm going to give Tony some last words here, parting words that he would leave with you. Before we do that, again, just a reminder that you go to the section of the Kajabi portal. If for some reason you've not accessed the portal, in the chat box, I have put the link that gives you access to the portal. Just go to that link, and if you forgot your password, go to forgot password and put that in. It'll take you through a password reset. And go to the section where it says webinar recordings. And by Monday, this recording will be there. And then, of course, when you click on the recording, it's going to bring up the video, and the downloads will be here to the right, lower right. You'll find all the downloads, documents, and resources that Tony's sharing with you. And I'm going to ask that you honor Tony by making sure you've entered him into your KW referral network. Reach out to Tony. And it's Baroni with a B-A. Spell it for him, Tony.
Yeah, Tony, Tony, and then Baroni, B as in boy, A-R-O-N-I. Connect with us on Facebook at Tony Baroni Team, Instagram, Tony Baroni Team, and we're also on Twitter as well. So we'd love to stay in the loop with you guys. And Kelly would be awesome. I've been connecting with lots of people on Kelly app, and we're told by our leadership we need to do that, right? So let's go ahead and connect that way as well.
Absolutely make it happen. So, all right. So I want you to give them just parting thoughts. If you can say if they take one thing out of this conversation today, what's that one thing you want to make sure Tony left them with?
So for me, it's consistency, right? Are you wanting to do the promise, or do you want to do something? You got to make it where it's you. It's got to have your stamp of approval. And I think the most important part is to get started on what you're comfortable with, and what would that look like for you and your team, or if you're an individual agent, what would that look like? And then what's your goal? You need to set a goal for 2020. Like, I want to get 25 reviews next year. You have 125 past clients. How many do you think you can get a review from? And why don't you start making your lead gen activity that? You can text the link, you can call, but consistency. And I would just set a goal around it for online reviews or referrals, or both. Mm-hmm. And I'm teaching classes now. I called it the Promise Revolution, because I believe what this is what the gift that Mike Hicks came up with, that I've kind of, tried to make my own. Essentially, any business could use this. So,
that's true.
Whether you're a plumber or you're a realtor, this philosophy works. And, why not train people in your community how to do this as well? Because it could change their business. I was sitting with a painter last week, and he asked me to help him with reviews, and he had 15 in our area. There was 15 reviews, was the most any painter had.
Oh, wow.
And I told him in 30 days, you should be the #1 person. And he's already called me. And he's like, Tony, my phone's blowing up. Thanks for the tips. So, you know, it's very simple. With real estate, it's more competitive, right? So it's a little bit different, but measure your results that way would be my philosophy.
Perfect. And guys, and on the documents we post, that'll have Tony's contact information on there. So Tony, thanks for your wisdom and everything you got to share with us today. We're so grateful for that contribution and your contribution to Bold. And we look forward to posting all that information up and then putting it to work and creating a promise revolution.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve. And I appreciate you allowing me to be part of Bold 2.0 and Never Ending Referrals. And what you're doing is awesome as well.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.